Okay, so it's time to go over the Daiwa releases at Icast, and in my opinion, Daiwa had a bigger Icast this year than last year. And we're going to start off with the first Daiwa reel in a long time that actually has gotten me excited, and that is the Tatula Elite, and specifically the long cast version. Now, as expected, they are using the new Tatula 100 platform, and the mag force braking system on this reel is tuned for long casting. Now, I suspect it's basically going to be the same tune as the JDM Daiwa Hyper Long Cast reels, and if that's true, then you can expect a shortened rotor inductor with a stronger spring, giving you a weaker braking profile. And also, if that's true, that means it's not going to be good for lures under 1/2 ounce or lures that are not very aerodynamic. But of course, we're going to have to wait and find out. Now, Daiwa is going back to its original Tatula roots and giving the Elite an aluminum handle side plate just like the original Tatulas, but somehow the weight went down slightly versus the standard 100 somehow. Now, everything else is the same other than a laser etched logo. So instead of coming out with a Type R version, Daiwa is giving us this Elite. Now here's the bad news, or I should say stupid news. Now the price on this reel is going to be $240. So that's $80 more than the standard Tatula, $10 less than the CURADO DC, and $50 more than the new SLX DC that has a far more advanced braking system. But even with that ridiculous price, I'm definitely going to get one and see what it can do. So the next baitcaster is the Tatula Elite Pitch Flip version, and as the name indicates, this reel is specialized for pitching and flipping, so the mag force braking on this reel was tuned specifically just for that. Now I believe this is going to be like the Daiwa 103 spools, so it's not going to be great for any kind of casting presentations whatsoever. And because of that, the spool is going to be shallower than the other Tatula spools. Now, just like the long cast Elite, this reel has an aluminum handle side plate, but it will sport a bigger 100mm oversized handle with what looks to be EVA power type knobs. And I guess because of that, the price on this pitch flip Tatula is $250. So basically $10 more than the long cast Elite version and the same price as a CURADO DC. Now I guess it costs a lot of money to stamp out an aluminum side plate. Now I personally am not going to get this reel, but if someone wants to send me one, I will definitely test out its pitching capabilities. So next up is a really pretty inshore saltwater reel, the Coastal SVTW. Now this is based on the Tatula 100 frame, and it gets the aluminum handle side plate just like the Elite reels, and it's going to come with the SV brake system as well as a deeper 150 capacity spool. Now I believe the spool bearings are also the corrosion resistant kind. Now the price on this reel is going to be $250, and that's actually $30 less than the Shimano CHRONARCH G, which has a composite frame and side plates. So of course, since I live nowhere near the ocean, I have no need for this particular reel. Alright, so next up is the $400 ZILLION TWHD. Now this reel has been available in Japan for a while, and I believe they've imported it over here to America, and it's based off the older first gen Tatula ZILLION platform, so that means it has a wider spool. And speaking of spool, it's made of the higher end G1 Duralumin. Now it has 11 bearings, but here's where it gets confusing. Now it has 9 corrosion resistant ball bearings, 1 roller bearing, and 1 mag seal bearing. I'm going to assume that that mag seal bearing is going to be on the spool, but why only 1 if the spool has 2 bearings? And why not make both spools mag seal since this reel is $400. It's got a 100mm handle with the power style EVA knobs. So basically this reel is made for heavier duty applications like crankbaits, small swim baits, and pitching in heavy cover. Now the price is a little high in my opinion, but I do have to admit that the machine details on this reel are really nice looking and really high end. Okay, so the last of the bait casters are the Lexa HDs, the 300 and the 400, and I really don't know what the difference is between these and the current ones other than color, because they are priced the same and I don't see any kind of difference in spec. Okay, so on to the spinning reels, and Daiwa unveiled two at this year's show, at least on the freshwater side. Now the first reel is the Cert 8 LT. Now Tackle Warehouse is still showing the regular Cert 8 and it's not on clearance, so I'm not sure if the LT is going to be sold alongside the regular Cert 8 or if it's going to replace it altogether. Now the Cert 8 LT has a one-piece aluminum monocoque frame as the major difference, and it looks like the result is that the reel is about 1 ounce lighter. Now this is going to be Daiwa's second highest end spinning reel, starting at $450. Now at this price point, the Cert 8 is sandwiched right in between the Abu Garcia's REVO MG Extreme and the Shimano EXSENCE. I think both of those are made of magnesium though. The look of the Cert 8 LT reminds me of the first generation Shimano Vanquish. So remember how I made a big deal about Shimano coming out with a $30 spinning reel? Well, it looks like Daiwa has also come out with a $30 spinning reel, the Crossfire, and I believe it's the Crossfire LT. Now, comparing the specs of the two, it looks like Shimano has the Daiwa beat because of the number of bearings. The Crossfire only has 1 ball bearing and 1 roller bearing, while the Sienna has 3 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing. The Crossfire does have a higher end look though with its silver color. Okay, so onto the rod side of things. Daiwa only really had one rod release that was noteworthy in my opinion, and that is the new BLX Rod Line, which Tackle Warehouse describes as a JDM model on their website. Now these are made in Japan, but with USA actions and tapers, so it's definitely catered towards the American angler. Now the most notable thing about the BLX lineup is that they split the rods into 2 categories. There's the limber line, which is designed for moving baits, and then there's the sensitive line, which focuses on bottom contact sensitivity, of course. Now this mimics the Abu Garcia Ike line of rods. So these are going to come in casting and spinning with only a few lengths available, at least for right now I think. Now the price on these rods is high, starting at $400, but in context to Daiwa's rod lineup, it's actually mid-range, filling in the gap between the Tatula Elite rods and the super expensive STEEZ rods. Now the bad news for the BLX rods is that the new Shimano JACKALL Poison Adrena was just released a few months ago, and it's actually cheaper than the BLX. And not only that, these rods kind of look pedestrian to me. The new Adrenas look really cutting edge and definitely has a higher appeal factor, especially when you're talking about this price point. Now this rod will appeal mostly to the hardcore Daiwa guy who can't afford any of the rods in the STEEZ lineup, but wants something more than the Tatula Elite rods. Now Tackle Warehouse shows arrival dates in October, so that's it for the interesting Daiwa releases for this year's Icast. Next up is going to be Abu Garcia.